Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make a video in PowerPoint with animations and transitions linked to an audio file. And I'm using PowerPoint 2016 on a Windows 10 computer. So the end result is going to be a video of your presentation with your voiceover that plays through your presentation from start to finish with animations, transitions, triggered to different points in the audio as defined by you. So first step, set up your slides in PowerPoint with the items that you want to be in the slide. I always start with my animations, and so these are what I'm going to be triggering off my video file. So I want all of these to fly in, so I have to identify them individually and tell PowerPoint that I want them to fly in when we get to that point. So just highlight them one by one, click on Fly In, and for my pictures, I'm just going to highlight them all and use the same animation for each, and I'm going to use Swivel. Now, click on the Animation tab and then click on Animation Pane, and you can see what you've set up. You've got 8 different things, all with animations, and we're going to be using this animation pane in a second. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some audio here on this slide, my voiceover, and then after that we are going to put some bookmarks on it to make the animations happen at the right time. So I'm going to say Insert, Audio, Record Audio. I'm going to move this pane up a little so I can see the words, and here I go. I'm going to actually record this while we're doing this video. Point 1, identify the problem behavior. Point 2, analyze its severity. Point 3, if severe or complex, call human resources for input and guidance. Point 4, determine which path to take. So I click on stop. So now I've got a 16-second audio file, and when you click OK, you can see it puts a little icon on your screen that you can see where the audio is. So now what I'm going to do is I want this slide to play and for the points to pop up based on where I get to in my audio file. So when we first start this file, I want this point 1 just to start to be at the top, and then we're going to bookmark the rest of it. So over on the right hand side here, this is the order that things happen. So I'm going to drag the recorded sound to the top of the list so it starts first. And if you look on the animations pane, it says right now that the audio starts on click. I want that to start with previous. Okay, with previous in this case, because it's the first one, starts as soon as the slide starts. So you can also change that down here. Start with previous. Now the first point over here, identify the problem behavior. I also want that to start when the slide starts. I'm going to also say to that one, start with previous. And this picture here, if you click on it, you can see it's picture number 4. I want that to start with previous. So I want all of those to start. Actually, and I have to drag this one up to make it start with the right previous. Now the rest of them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put bookmarks in my audio file so that I can tell PowerPoint when to bring the rest of the points in. So in the audio tools, you click on the playback tab, and you can see over here there's an add bookmark function. So I'm going to play this, and what I want to happen here is I want point 2 to slide in with the fly in animation just after I've read point 1. So I'm going to put a bookmark at the end of point 1. So let's listen. Point 1, identify the problem behavior. So I click pause and I click add bookmark. You see it puts a little yellow dot in the bookmark time frame. Now I want the next one to animation to happen after I read point 2. Point 2, analyze its severity. So I click on pause and I add a bookmark there as well. And I do the same thing for the third. Point 3, if severe or complex, call human resources for input and guidance. Click on pause, click on add bookmark, and now what I have to do is I have to trigger these animations to happen when I want them to happen. So the second point, which is the one that starts analyze its severity, I want that one to trigger, go back to the animations page, and I want it to trigger on bookmark number 1. And at the same time, I want this picture to come in, picture number 2. So for picture number 2, I'm also going to trigger on bookmark number 1. For point number 3, which is if severe or complex, I click it over here to highlight it, and I want that to trigger on bookmark number 2. And I want it to go along with this picture of the telephone, which I can see now is picture number 8. So I want picture number 8, trigger on bookmark number 2. And then the final bit of text, determine which path to take, I want to trigger that on bookmark number 3. And the last picture here, which if you click on it, you can see is picture number 7. I want to trigger that on bookmark number 3. Okay, so now I've got all my triggers set out here. I am going to, the other thing I have to do is I have to get the transitions of the slides happening so that they go automatically. So first of all, I'm going to highlight all the slides, and I'm choosing the transition fade so that they all fade to the next slide. Now on this slide, instead of, if you click on the transitions tab, you can see that the slide is going to advance on mouse click. I actually don't want that. I want it to advance after my audio has finished. So I'm just going to click on the audio file for a second and see how long this file is. It's about 17, just under 17 seconds. So I'm going to say I want this slide to advance after 17 seconds, which is just after the audio finishes. So now when I play this slide, it should start automatically, the animation should happen automatically, and it should move to the next slide after 17 seconds. Let's see what happens.
Point 1, identify the problem behavior. Point 2, analyze its severity. Point 3, if severe or complex, call human resources for input and guidance. Point 4, determine which path to take.
Okay, so it switched to that next slide automatically. Now you're basically going to do the same thing for your other slides. So let's have this, put an animation on this. We want it to fly in. I'll insert the audio file that I want. Record it quickly here. We will take a look at action plans for both the progressive discipline approach and the corrective action approach. So now I've got my audio file set up. By the way, if you pull this, drag this off the screen, it won't show up in your final video. If you have that little icon on the screen, it's going to show up in your final video. Now in this case, I just want the recorded sound to start right away. So I'll say start with previous on that. And I also want the words to come in. I can make the these images float in later if I want to. And to do that, we can set up a quick bookmark. Or the other thing you can do is you can tell individual pictures to, for example, start with previous, but you can delay them. So we could delay this by 5 seconds. And I can make the rectangle come in after 6 seconds. So let's just try that for fun. So I haven't used a bookmark this time. I've just told it to delay the playing.
We will take a look at action plans for both the progressive discipline approach and the corrective action approach.
So I didn't put a transition in here, but you want this slide to not end on mouse click. You want it to end after the audio, and the audio is about 7 seconds, so I can put in that I want it to end after 8 seconds, and it'll go automatically to the next slide. Now, just while I look at this next slide, one quick hint here. If you're setting up audio bookmarks and you click pause to set up your bookmark, but it's a little further forward than you want it to be, you can use Shift-Alt left arrow to move back in 0.25 second increments. So if you've set up audio, let me just show you here. So if you're playing audio,
we will take a look at action.
So I've paused it here at 2.29. Let's just say I want the bookmark to be a little further back. I'm now going Shift-Alt arrow key And you see it jumps backwards in 0.25 second increments each time I hit the arrow key. So there's a little hint. And one other thing I wanted to show you, just in case it helps, is some of the resources I use. Pixabay has free images. I'm using the PowerSoft screen capture to record this video. There's cartoon making programs at Powtoons. You can create animated videos at Bitable.com. And I use Paint.net as a great graphics editor for people like me who aren't good graphics editors. Anyway, so having said all that, so I'm going back to the first slide. I'm going to say I want to transition after 3 seconds. And let's just watch what happens with this whole video, and then we'll export to a video.
Point 1, identify the problem behavior. Point 2, analyze its severity. Point 3, if severe or complex, call human resources for input and guidance. Point 4, determine which path to take. We will take a look at action plans for both the progressive discipline approach and the corrective action approach.
And there we have it. So I didn't put animation or transitions on the last slide. So now once you've gone through your whole slide deck and it all works automatically, you can export as a movie. So go File, Export, create a video, choose your video size here, standard or high definition. Leave it on Use Recorded Timings and Narrations. I think you could ignore this thing here, seconds spent on each slide, and just click on Create Video. It brings up a dialog box. You fill in your name of your video that you want, and you click Save, and it'll take a few minutes to create your video, depending on how big your PowerPoint is. I'm just going to cancel. And that is that. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you.